Alrighty. Okay. I too haven't prepared much, so bear with me. I'm going to read a lot. I hope that's okay. I'd like to start with a story. It's my story. I've only got 5 minutes. Yep. So I'm going to cut out all the interesting bits. So for the majority of my professional career, I've been a developer, so at the coding end. And I've dabbled in some other stuff, as you do when you're a freelancer, but largely it was just doing coding. And coding solutions that someone else designed, and I didn't really have a lot of say in. And for the longest time, for most of the time, I was really frustrated by that. You know, are we solving a problem? What's the problem? Whose problem is this? I need to know this stuff. So I just said, that's it, I'm out. So I jumped ship and I made my way into UX. I was going to be a user experience designer. And here I am. I'm very excited. I'm very excited to be here as a user experience designer. I was talking to real users, learning about the problems, what they need, and we were designing solutions via mobile, tablets, TVs, all sorts of stuff. You know, it was very exciting. But it still didn't seem to be enough. I still had this kind of empty feeling. There's more I could be doing, you know, what is it? And I was like, oh, I know what it is. Service design, or experience design, or customer experience design, or one of those things. Surely if I go broader, then this will fill this hole in me where I need to help people. And it was verified by all the different job titles that are out there. So what I learned from Andy is there's actually no difference between user experience designer and service designer and customer experience designer or a human experience designer. That's my favorite, that's what I call myself. So no matter what you call yourself or what you're actually designing, you need to realize that the section which you're responsible for is part of a much broader experience. So Andy's background is service design, and for me I was user experience design, which one could say is a sort of narrower focus. But you know, he taught me that the overall experience that you're designing is made up of much smaller parts, and each of those small parts are as important individually as they are collectively. As Dan Saffer tells us, the products, oh, that's a different point. So Andy taught me to go out. Now he also said to go in. So as Dan Saffer tells us, Dan Saffer, a product's overall experience is only as good as the smallest part. And Andy says the same thing. Everything is a micro-interaction. Details do matter. Small acts make all the difference. It's saying that we care about the people. If we like it when someone else thinks about us, cares for us, and has designed something, you know, just for us. So it all comes down to a matter of focus. So what level of focus you're working on as a designer. So a particular interaction component, a device, entire digital strategy, or an overall experience strategy. And where your particular section exists amongst a much broader experience. So he taught me to zoom out, look at the ecology of the experience around me, and to zoom in and look at the micro-interactions. Now, some of you are probably saying, I knew that, you know, where have you been? So I guess I kind of had the feeling, but I was missing one thing, and it was really simple, but I couldn't quite get my head around it. So I was like, you know, Andy, I don't have control over all this stuff. I'm a user experience designer. I get to design stuff on this little screen, and maybe that screen, maybe another screen, but I don't have control over what goes on in their house, or you know, I can't influence the company or that department or whatever else. In other words, I have no influence over those other pieces of the puzzle. So the answer he gave me was, you know, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that you can't influence everything. You don't have to be able to influence them to acknowledge their existence. One of the key points made by Dan Willis, another talk, was that what are we designing when we look at the whole or the overall experience? We're actually looking at the tasks in their context. We're looking at relationships between people and their peers, between people and their service providers, between people and services. We may only have a small amount of influence in various spaces along the experience, but we still need to map the entire system. Andy phrased it as, people are not trying to use the website. When they get to Amazon, they're not going, I'm here to use Amazon. They're here to buy something. And the concept of buying something is broader than going to Amazon. So the question shouldn't be, how can we improve the journey through the website, but to work out what the motivation is behind them being at the website. And you can make much richer experiences. Okay, so I love this. This kind of filled my hole. I was very excited, more excited than I was before. So not only does it help in designing the best possible whatever you're doing at your level, it might give you possibilities to influence other areas and improve the overall experience. You might be able to pick up some of the slack in the other areas. You can see over there that's just completely shit, but you can make yours a little bit better to make the customer feel better about the shit bit. You can pick up some more work. You know, you can give them this whole blueprint and say, hey, I can do that as well. For a discount, I don't know. You might be able to even save everyone some time and money and say, you know what, people, I know you hired me to do this, but your problem really is over there in your customer experience, a call center or something else. Didn't stop there. He was an amazing man. He said it's not just about each of our little sections. So when you zoom out, you see where your interaction, oh shit, how much time have I got? Balls!
You may have one more minute.
2 minutes? Minute and a half?
Two more minutes. You may have 2 more minutes. Okay,
this is my favourite bit. So he said not just to look at everything. So you don't just look at your little bit amongst all the other little bits. I love how he phrased it. He has a deep hatred of arrows. And what he meant was arrows in a flow diagram. So if you look at like a flow diagram, and I wish I could draw it for you, but I can't, you've got like each of these little sections and then these arrows in between them. And he phrased it as arrows are ubiquitous things. As humans, we look at the things and not the space between the things. So these transitions between channels are, if not more, as important, if not more, than the services or the things themselves. He gave an analogy where he said, imagine you've got 2 beautiful skyscrapers. You know, you design these beautiful things that are amazing, but the road in between is muddy and shit. You know, no one's ever going to go over there, because there is no one to get there. So what we're talking about are these services gaps, the spaces in between each little step in an experience, where people can get lost. These cracks in service can accumulate and form experience cravats. He gave a really great example about like, you know, flying from New York to Germany and that whole thing just being a clusterfuck. I'm sure you all know about it. Okay, so in summary, don't view your interaction in isolation. Like as user experience, we kind of already know that. We don't have to go just the iPhone app and just the website. We already know we need to look broader, but look a little bit broader again. And even though you know you don't have influence over everything, it is really, really useful to just zoom out and see where it fits in the context of everything else. Work out what you've got influence over and what you don't, and just don't, it doesn't matter. Don't sweat it that you can't touch everything. And then zoom all the way back in. Marisha's going to talk about Dan Sapphire, and it was a great talk about micro-interactions, and they really make a difference. And don't forget the gaps in between the little bits. And that's everything. I can't answer questions yet.